did you know that New Year's actually used to be on March 25th? I didn't either, but we're gonna talk about that in today's video. I'm Chaz Christopher. Sit back, relax, and let's talk about New Year's. So this video is coming out the Friday before New Year's Eve, and just like last week's video when I gave the history of Christmas, I'm going to give the history of New Year's Day because it's so fascinating how these holidays came into existence. So let's go back to Mesopotamia, what is now modern-day Iraq. They actually do have a recorded history of New Year's Day. They celebrated this in mid-March, which is around the spring equinox. Those were how the ancient Mesopotamian people celebrated it. The people of Egypt actually celebrated their New Year's based on the Nile River flooding. The Chinese actually celebrated their New Year on the second full moon after the winter solstice. Kind of different. None of those seem to be like January 1st so far, right? So how did we get to January 1st? I know you're dying to know. So let's go to the Roman Empire, where so much of what we have today comes from. So the ancient Romans had a lunar calendar that started with March and ended with December. There was no January and February. Those 2 months didn't come about until around the year 716 BCE. And those 2 months were actually added to the end of the year. So February was the last month of the year instead of December. Weird, right? So since their calendar started on March 1st was actually considered their new year, all the way until around 153 BCE. Even then, most of the Roman citizens still did not celebrate New Year's on January 1st. They continued to celebrate it on March 1st because that's what had happened for centuries before them. In 45 BCE, Julius Caesar decides he's going to do away with the old calendar that's based on the lunar events and switch it to a solar calendar. So in this year, he actually adds on days so that that year becomes 46 BCE. And around that time is when he establishes January to be the first month and the last month to be December. When he was doing this recalculation, he thought he was on top of this by adding an extra day every 4 years and calling it a leap year. But his calculation was actually wrong, ended up adding too much extra time, and it wasn't until 1582 that Pope Gregory XIII realized that mistake and had the calendar switch to the calendar that we have today, which is the Gregorian calendar. But before that date, let's jump back, in 567 BCE, the Council of Tours actually abolished January 1st being celebrated as the new year. So it completely went out of style all the way until 1582 when Pope Gregory brought it back. Seeing what Caesar's error was, he actually switched it to you add a day to one every 4 centennial years, and he believed that was going to fix the mistake that Julius Caesar made. After Pope Gregory instituted the Gregorian calendar, all Catholic societies for the most part took that calendar and ran with it. However, Protestant areas like Britain, who still had control of the Americas at that time, stuck with their old calendar and continued to celebrate the New Year's on March 25th. It wasn't until 1752 that Britain adopted the Gregorian calendar and then actually started celebrating it on January 1st. So who knows where we'd be if Britain actually didn't take on the Gregorian calendar and, I don't know, came up with their own or kept it on March 25th. I guess we would still be celebrating on March 25th. Something else that's really interesting that I didn't mention before, so January 1st actually falls on what the Catholic Church calls the Feast of the Circumcision because they say 8 days after Jesus was born, that's when he would have been circumcised. So January 1st is not only New Year's, but apparently the alleged day Jesus got circumcised. When you're partying it up at midnight, don't forget circumcision. I'm totally kidding. This is such a weird way to end this video. I hope you really liked it. If you did, give this video a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below if you learned anything, you liked this. If you want to know what I did Christmas, you should have been following me on Instagram. I posted it. I'll put some of the stuff up here and at the end video so that you can see it. Follow me on Instagram. The link is in the caption, @chaz.christopher. That's how you keep up with what I'm doing in my everyday life. The next video we have for you is going to be a recap of this year, but we're going to do it in a game style hosted by the one and only Tarl John, who has appeared in a lot of other videos. He's going to quiz Devin and I to see how well we know what happened in 2018. So until then, you do you, I'll do me, and I'll see you next Friday.